So we can. Okay.
Um, the venue itself was really beautiful. We were basically on top of like a small mountain overlooking the ocean, and so we were just surrounded by greenery, and then we could see like the vast ocean. Um, and the ceremony space was also on top of the mountain, and on the third ceremony, we actually had a massive thunderstorm during ceremony. Yeah. And so it was really unique. I mean, as the facilitators, we were kind of like trying to move people, make sure they weren't getting wet, and just make sure everyone was safe. But they actually loved it. Like they were like, "Oh my God, this is nature." Yeah, so it's just lots of like great moments like that. And after that, my partner and I went to the mountains in Mascota, which is 2 hours inland from Puerto Vallarta, because August is harvesting season for mushrooms. And so we were out in nature picking mushrooms. And then we also sat in ceremony with those mushrooms that we had picked ourselves. And that was just really special. Um, and yeah, so that was sort of the Mexico leg of the trip. And I've been in sort of in different places in Florida over the past 2.5 weeks. I've We flew into Miami, and one of my friends who attended our retreat last year, her intention was around motherhood. And then after the retreat, we worked together on her nutrition, and she got pregnant almost immediately. And she also asked me to be the godmother of their son. And so me coming to Miami was me meeting him for the first time. And so he's a little 5-month-old baby. Well, I won't say little, he's actually really big, but just super cute. He's, starting to smile and laugh a lot. And, he's kind of at that age where he's starting to play. So, yeah, that's also been really special to meet him. And then otherwise, I've sort of just been working. I am flying to LA on Thursday. I don't know if any of you will be in the area, but if you are, I'll be speaking at a wellness event in Beverly Hills, giving a talk on building resiliency for stress through nutrition. So yeah, there's it's been a whirlwind of the past 2 months, but lots of fun and exciting stuff, and lots of just a lot of meaningful moments sprinkled in between.
Amazing.
Neat.
Juju into the space.
Yeah.
I love the thunderstorm too. It feels like nature has been just presenting in big ways. Yeah, so that sounds about right for the experience.
Yeah.
And that you got to pick mushrooms and sit with them in
Yeah.
Mexico. That's so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of nature over the past few weeks.
Amazing. I
Yeah.
love. We're so happy to have you back with us, and it just feels like we can feel you, like, okay, Allison's out there surfing the dimensions. We're holding it down over here. So it's nice how that works. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm happy to be back.
we're happy
I
to have
feel like I've missed a lot. How have you guys been?
you. I'm good. I mean, I feel like we have hit warp speed officially, and I'm just like, okay, this is what's happening. So warp speeding it all the time. That's what's happening in my world. I have some updates, but yeah, anybody else want to pipe in? Jennifer, Annie.
I mean, I've just been crazy busy. And yeah. I'm holding on to. I've got a month. My daughter's doing an art show in Texas in the middle of October, and I'm doing 12 art pieces to add to her. So I'm doing Zodiac cowboy boots. So I'm doing a set of 12 cowboy boots, 12 each, do two each. So I'm working on that the whole month of September to get ready to take to hers. So I'm in hunker down mode.
That sounds like a lot and amazing.
They'll be done. We'll see. I'm excited.
Well, we definitely need to see those when they
Oh,
are
sure. Delighted to share.
Zodiac
It'll be fun.
cowboys. That's so fun.
They're collaged. It's
Okay.
artwork. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that's so fun. And is your daughter an artist too? She's got an
She
art.
is. Yeah. This is hers behind me.
That's beautiful.
She's mixed media, so she does paint and collage mostly. That's her thing. You can look her up if you want to see her. She's blairkaufman.com.
Ooh, that's
She's
amazing.
fun.
BlairKaufman.com.
And she's got an E, BLAIRE, Kaufman.com.
Sorry, how is it spelled?
There's an E on the end, BLAIRE, Kaufman.
Kaufman.com. Yeah,
I'm her momager. That's what she calls me.
Oh, she's gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, that's gonna be fun to look through. And your son just
Yeah.
got married.
He did, yeah. Yep. He's happy they moved into their new house. They're busy being little homesteaders.
Does she do a lot with Native American and
She does.
Western
We
art?
only have a little piece of Native American, but she's fascinated by it. But she does a lot of Western, cowboy, Southwestern stuff.
So fun. That's gorgeous. Well, on that note, that makes me want to do my check-in. I have a couple things to share. So I had this moment that I was talking to these two men, these two older white men, and they were lovely. I'm not, however, it triggered some deep stuff in me, which I will spare you the longer details, although they would be interesting to share. And so I'm talking with them, and I had sung for this little ceremony. It was a memorial service for a woman. And afterwards, this man asked me, "Do you have recordings of your music?" And I had this moment where I thought, I'm tired of just sweeping under the rug the actual story of why I don't have recordings. And I'm just going to share a little bit more openly about my journey. And not to be negative, not to whine, not to complain, but to just be honest about the situation of musicians in this country and women. But not just women, because my husband's been in the same boat where we've just struggled to make enough money and keep ourselves afloat and show up and do our spiritual work. And it's been a journey and a challenging one. So I said, well, it honestly at this point is a bit like a dagger in my heart when I hear people ask that, because I don't have recordings yet that I'm ready to share. And they stopped me right there and immediately told me that I needed to change my story. They didn't even let me tell my story. They just told me that I needed to manifest a better reality for myself. And I am not in disagreement about that. And they are asking me to skip a crucial step, which the dark goddess is fully aware of, that we need to own and honor our actual feelings. You can't just skip over that piece. And if there's wounding there, that needs to be expressed and seen and witnessed and shared before we move on. And the thing that happened was I immediately went into fawn. I went into my freeze and fawn and agree with the men because they're older and wiser. And, I went completely into that mode. I was like, you're right, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to agree with you. But inside of me, I could tell something was happening. And I remember just thinking, okay, breathe and feel your feet on the ground. And I connected in, I did my thing. And then I left and I was furious. I was so angry. And I left a message for my white male friend who I knew would get it. And I was like, I just need to be Mount Vesuvius for a minute. I'm just gonna say the things because I didn't even know what was wrong. I couldn't even articulate what had gone down in that moment. And as I expressed it, I realized this is a dynamic that has been going on for a long time. They're financially comfortable. They're not artists. They don't understand this dynamic, but because it was about to be uncomfortable for them, they unconsciously projected their reality onto me and told me to be quiet. They didn't want to have to face what so many people are facing in this world that is inconvenient and uncomfortable. And so I was even more angry on behalf of everybody else than I really was on behalf of myself, although that was part of it. So as I went through this healing process over the past week, and I would say healing is like speeding up too. So it was like, oh, we're just going to do this really fast. So I saw my therapist. I expressed my frustration with all the fuckery, and she was like, oh my God, you're on fire. This is amazing. And then I see this beautiful woman. We've been working together, and she does EMDR with me. And during that session, I had a really beautiful experience because she invited me to reparent the inner part of myself, like my inner father figure, because I didn't have a father who could hold that kind of space for me. And so she invited me to invite the healthy father energy in. And the first person who showed up, and I wasn't even trying to have a person embody this energy, but my grandfather showed up, but not my grandfather. So he has come to me in this life. He's all of my grandparents and I are extremely close. They've all crossed over at this point. He crossed over when I was 11, and he was the first soul to show up to me in a dream. He invited me to go visit my grandmother, and he came to me in my dream when I was 11 years old and spoke with me. And he was also the first person in a spiritual reading that I had who came in and had a lot of beautiful messages for me, including that he is, in fact, Robin, I think he came in one of my readings with you many years ago too, my grandfather. You remember? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he told me that he'd been my father in a Native American life. And so fast forward to this healing that I was doing, this EMDR session, and he shows up, my Native American father, in my house as a child in this life. And he immediately just takes my hand and takes me out onto the prairie, which is why this made me think of this, Jennifer. And he starts sharing Native American teachings with me about the earth and just all their beautiful teachings. And he's walking with me and loving the prairie with me in a way that my parents never could have. And in a way that I remember gazing out the window as a child and being under the moonlight and just having this beautiful relationship with nature. And I would get undressed, I'd take my clothes off and sit there in the moonlight. And that was one of the first times that I got in trouble from my father. He yelled at me for pressing my breasts up against the window. I was 3. And that was my first moment of like, something's not right. I don't know what I did wrong, but I can't be naked apparently. Like, okay. So this grandfather, my grandfather, but as my father, as a Native American, was reparenting me, and it hit me so deeply. I nearly just sobbed my eyeballs out. It was so beautiful. So the next morning I wanted to sit with him some more, and I actually had a bunch of memories of my grandfather coming up from when I was young. And so I remembered that he called me Shikepoke. It was his nickname for me. And I knew that it was the name of a bird. It was like an old-fashioned name for a bird. And I had always just thought it was some sort of sparrow for some reason, like a little small bird. And for some reason in that meditation, I'm crying, I'm having all these beautiful memories come up. I'm feeling so close and so held. And I thought, when I got out of the meditation, I want to check out, like, what kind of bird is a Shikepoke? So I look it up, and it means, this is so funny. This is so hilarious. So it actually means shit sack. Literally means shit sack. And I'm like, what the fuck, Grandpa? Seriously? Like, that's shit sack? So, but it means heron. Heron is and they call it heron, and another word for it is shite poke, like shite poke. And they call herons shite poke because when they are startled out of a hiding place, they'll shit as they fly off, and it's to lighten their load. So that's why they're called shite poke. And I sat with that. So at first I was just like, dude, grandpa, seriously? Like that was your nickname for me. Okay, great. So I told Marvin, I'm like, my grandfather's nickname for me was shit sack. and and he's like, well, if you think about it, he's like, I might, if I was a grandpa and I was changing a bunch of diapers, I might call my little kid adoringly shit sack because they're probably pooping a lot and I'm changing the diaper. And it's literally a shit sack. Like that's actually a pretty cute nickname if you think about it. And then I thought about it some more and I was like, he's telling me to let that shit go. Like herons fly better when they let that shit go. So he has all sorts of funny little ways of communicating with me. So I'm like, okay, so I have to like lighten my load, laugh at myself, be a human who shits, and we like literally like muck through the shit to get to our enlightened state, right? So this makes sense. But then I realized also that my friend just had a daughter, and her name is Heron Rose, and I feel such a connection, like a star connection with this child. She is such a Pleiadian star seed, and her name is Heron, and so was my nickname as a child was Heron. So that was just a really beautiful little moment that happened this week for me. And then the other really quick thing is I had this incredible dream. And in the dream, so I'm just trying to tell this all in a short, quick way, but it all feels important as part of the whole picture. So we have a cat named Galadriel, who was my absolute soulmate kitty, and she very unexpectedly, I figured I would nurse her into old age. And very unexpectedly, she was hit by a car because our cats do go outside. I believe in letting them be free and be cats. So that's what happened. And I know that there was a soul agreement that that would happen, but it has continued to be really hard on me because it was literally like losing a piece of my soul. She was so much a part of me. She followed me from room to room. I was the one who found her. She was so mystical. I saw her in multiple mushroom journeys, in multiple lives. I think I probably talked about her before. Like she was such a strong presence for me. And now we have Arwen, and she is such an independent little being and doesn't like to be held. Galadriel loved to be held like a baby. She wanted to be in my lap all the time. She was just like, it was such a physical connection. We slept together, and Arwen is like, stay away, don't touch me. And she's very jumpy. She's from like, she was raised by another cat outside until she was like 2 months old. So she's just a different being, and it has been very much a learning curve for me because it keeps triggering me missing my other cat. And so I had this beautiful breakthrough with her the other day, and then that night I had this dream. And in the dream, I was at Home Depot, and what I take from that is building a new reality. I was shopping for supplies to build something, and I see that she's on the underside of my shopping cart. And I'm like, oh no, this isn't good that she's here. Like, I know that she's going to run away and hide, and then we're probably not going to be able to find her. And because that's how it would happen in real life. But in this dream space, she was fine. And so she was just sitting on the bottom of my shopping cart with me, and I felt really close to her. And so I finished what I was doing, and I came out of the store, and she scampered away, and I called her, and she came running right back to me and jumped right back into my arms. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I took her to Marvin, and I said, because he was waiting in the car for me, and I asked him to keep her while I finished what I was doing. So that was the first part of the dream. My dreams come in 3 parts, usually. Like my really profound download dreams are 3 parts. So the second piece of this dream, I'm with 2 Nordics, I want to call them. Like often Nordic aliens are called Pleiadians, Nordic extraterrestrials are called Nordic, although the ones I usually connect with are blue. But I was with a father and a daughter, and she was my friend, and they were extremely wealthy. in a different way than we would say wealthy here, but they had incredible means, and they had this huge compound, and it doesn't feel like it was on planet. I'm not sure where it was. It looked like Earth, but it didn't feel like it was on planet. And she was showing me around, and almost it felt like I was being taken in and into a confidence. And the evening came around, and she and her father invited me to close down things. Like there were chores that they did. And there was this huge white airplane hangar with many different sections. It was gargantuan, and there was all kinds of stuff going on inside. And it had that big arced front and a gate. And so the father was really tall. He had long blonde hair, totally looked like an elf. So did she. And they showed me, they had this huge gold, it was white gold wrought iron gate that had been laser cut with incredible precision, beautiful, intricate designs on this gate. And everything was done very silently. There was no speaking. And so they showed me how they just guided the gate close. And it wasn't technology. It wasn't like you press a button and the thing closes. They did it with their intention and a very light touch of their hands. And they guided this gate closed. And then we're inside this airplane hangar and walked up through this winding staircase that was it was dark and very dimly lit with light just at the bottom edges of the stairs. And we came to this conference room that totally felt like Galactic Federation, like conference room. And it was white, so much white. And it was circular. So circular room, and it was like really steep and tiered. So there were tiers that you would walk down the stairs, and there were chairs on every tier. And at the bottom, there was a table and chairs. It was like the round table, guys. And it floated up, this table and chairs, and they were just floating in the air. And the father and daughter were continuing down the stairs, and I'm trying to follow them. But suddenly I became aware of the simulation. And I could see all of these pixels floating all over the place. And these little, it was like Lego people were floating around me. And then I suddenly reabsorbed into, like, I just diffused and became part of the pixelation. And that I just like left, I just pixelated. And all of a sudden I came to, and I was in a different part of the compound. And I was like, whoa, what just happened? And she came around the corner and she said, I've been looking for you everywhere. What happened? Where'd you go? And I said, I have no idea. What is that room? And she said, she clearly couldn't answer, didn't want to answer me. And so instead she said, what was that language that you were speaking? And I said, I don't know. I must have been speaking light language. And then she took me to another, like we were going to bed, and it was like a Harry Potter Harry Potter world in the airplane hangar, and all this crazy stuff was happening. And I had Arwen again, my cat, and she's just in my arms, and I'm just holding her and kind of protecting her, like, oh boy, this is kind of crazy that we're traveling through this crazy place. And there was a dog, and she kind of put her claws out a little bit, and we went around the dog. And that's basically what I remember of the dream. So it felt incredibly profound, and it's still with me days later. And what it felt like is, yes, Arwen is my current astral traveling partner, and we have been developing a really deep relationship, and it's going better than I think. And there is a comfort level in the astral that we are developing. Like, she feels safe. We're going to be able to do this work together. And there is something going on with that Galactic Federation situation that feels really profound. I feel really honored to have been invited in whatever capacity I was, and shown what I was shown. And there's things that they can't share with us because I think it would mess with our 3D work here. Like we can't know all the things, or we'd be like, I don't know, it probably really interfere with a lot of stuff. But really, it felt so beautiful. And one of the messages felt was that we are wealthy. We are. It's just this game that we're playing right now is with limitation and is with transitioning and remembering that part of our souls that is so nourished and supported and is in service of the good. And that's what the white felt like. It felt like this purity, this light, this beauty that is very crisp and clean and protected and tended in many different realms. So I just wanted to share all of that with sisters who I know understand this work that we're doing. Yeah, so if there's anything that anyone has to say, I'd love to hear you chime in now, and then we'll do our check-in.
I had a similar dream many, many, many years ago where they took me to a room and put me in front of mirrors. And all I had to do was think of the outfit that I wanted to wear, and it would suddenly be on me. And so they were telling me that all of my life could be like that. So, but that was like when I was in my 20s. So, over 30 years ago.
Wow.
But yeah, it's like it's all encompassing feeling though. It's not like it was just a dream. It's like it affected all of my cells and everything.
Yes. Yes, one of those really profound downloads that stays with us for years
Yeah.
and feels true. And part of our soul knows, yeah, my life could be like that. And then we kind of get sucked back into forgetting and the Maya.
Mm.
And I don't know that our life is meant to be like that in this lifetime, but it is important that we remember that that is possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything you want to say?
I mean, I keep coming back to the present and not necessarily connecting this way, but connecting this way. And mine keeps coming back to like, it doesn't matter what's happening out there. It's how you are inside. And if you'll just feel it, let it go, move forward, feel it, let it go, move forward, then we can move those gates. And
It's like the intention and the focus is what,
and the presence.
yeah.
Like when you pixelated, I bet you lost presence, but then you came out somewhere else and realized,
Mhm.
but it's not easy.
Not at all.
Well, and I think the simulation um, is where we eventually do all reabsorb into, right? So it was, yeah, it's losing presence, but also allowing it to remind us that it's there. That's what underlies all the things is this simulation, right?
Yeah, let the pixels pass through you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Annie.
Wow. Well, first of all, Jennifer, your daughter's pictures are really good. Really, they're very fun. And really neat dreams, Kimberly. It's interesting because my channeling this morning, we're at a point in reading the Anna book for our book club where it spoke of Jesus, that I currently know of somebody that's way high up through somebody else in the Catholic order. And she has decided to ask for pain in her body so that she can witness what Jesus went through. And she's in like horrid pain. Like it's just so interesting. And at this point in the book with Jesus, right before everything's going down, where it speaks of that Jesus had done so much work out there in the mystery school arena that he didn't suffer. He didn't go through everything, but everybody collectively started to feel the angst because they understood all the different roles they were playing, like Judas and different ones like that. And just probably more the grief and sadness that their whole world was changing. Fast forward to my channeling this morning with my light language ones, it's always these really neat kind of pygmy type characters from Africa that are with us. And they gathered together. First, they talked about evergreen. They showed me all these evergreens and said that everything is evergreen right now, that our heart is always, with us forever. And it's always that beautiful green chakra color. And then they had these like red sheets, and they were all holding them, and John and I were on top of them, and they took me over a cavern that they take me over quite a bit, and it's very, very deep. And they were doing kind of similar to the gradations you were talking about. I absolutely understood and have been where you've described, maybe for different reasons, but I've been there, and I totally knew what you were talking about, Kimberly. But so anyway, and what they were explaining to me, what I surmised from it, is that we're in this time now where it feels like we're going to be going down levels in the depth of what's being purged and cleaned out. But at the same time, at least John and I have the ability to just levitate. We're like above it. We're in it, but not in it. And so they were showing me how far deep it was going to go based on this depth of this cavern, but that also that we're just witnesses to this whole process that's going to be so big on such a big level, and so just so cool. Like everything I'm getting right now is just absolutely beautiful. I just feel blessed to be here now on every single level. And I can witness, like what you're even talking about, Kimberly, about the knowing of the work you're going to be doing, that it's like the more we bring in our sovereignty, the more everything around us just continues to reflect it back to us in absolutely cool, resonant connections that maybe purge up something like it did with you, and you realize I don't need to carry this anymore. Just all the different ways that it's all supporting us. And I just keep meeting the coolest people I have ever met in my whole life. I'm just like, just pinch me now. So it's just all really, really cool. Like this whole way that we're all, weaving together these cool realities, and heaven only knows who we're going to be on the other side of it. But I do believe that we know how to even walk through the pixels and do all that. It's so cool. I have the training I'm getting from this one guy. He teaches something about taking people through coaching to a near-death experience, because there's so many people that have that fear. I haven't gotten to learn it yet, but I can't even imagine what that does for people, as far as, because it's going to bring you up to so many people's, big fear. And so I'll be curious to see what it's like. That's my story. And everybody's got such cool stories. See, I'm telling you, it's just so cool out there right now.
We are really, there's some really dark stuff, like things that are going on in Maui, and there's some fires and just weird, there's some fuckery afoot out there. But those of us who I know who are just, it's like we're transcending, we're like that table, like floating up above it, even as we watch the levels go down, right? We're like gazing down into the depths of things, but also rising above it. Everything you said, Annie, beautiful. Yeah. And so you've been at that airplane hangar? Is that what you're talking about?
I've been in many airplane hangars. Like the airplane hangars are my hangout.
Yeah.
And all the different, even you describing that whole room, I'm like, been there. And I've definitely, because somebody just asked me, I got to go to a radionics guy, and who's very, very advanced. It was like we were together for like 5 hours. It was like so in depth. But and he said, what group do you think you're a part of? And I said, I believe the Nordics. But I've never known that the Nordics, I've been around some really dark Nordics, but I never knew they were Pleiadian. I've never heard that before.
So I get very confused, and I've just decided I don't need to know, and I don't really worry about it. But when I looked up Nordics, because of that dream, what came up was Pleiadians, are often called Nordics. The ones I feel are Pleiadian that I constantly connect with, although I've also heard they're the Syrians or the Arcturians are very tall, thin blue beings. And I feel this immense love I can't even describe. It's like, oh, it's so, it's so indescribable. Although I probably don't have to describe because I know y'all get that. So one other thing I wanted to say is that there was a piece of the fact that I was speaking light language when I re-emerged with the pixelation felt important. And one of my friends, Trinity, who I dearly love, she said, it feels like, is that a way that you communicate with the simulation? And so that's just something to drop in. Annie, I don't know what you think about. Is that a way of communicating? What are your thoughts there?
I haven't ever picked that up at all. I mean, I'll definitely explore it. Although I am getting chills, but I haven't ever even considered that. I mean, I know so much about, because they literally took me out and threw me out there so many times. They used me as a remote viewer way out there with drugs and stuff, and then would bring me back. And I know that I was very discerning about what I shared with them. Like I had that ability to not get all they wanted, like, but I haven't ever looked at it as a way to communicate with the pixelation. And I just did that really huge interview with a gal on light language. I'm curious to ask her what she does SSANIs, and hers is just exquisite. So I don't know. I have somebody else I'm interviewing too, and I could ask her and see what
But the
she's.
way that it feels to me that it can interact with the simulation, and this is a download I got, and I think I talked with you about it when I was floating on the water, and I was just like, oh my God, I don't even know how to explain what the water is telling me right now. And it felt like what I was getting was that moments of touch, like even me doing that, if we can do that with intention, or when our tongue touches the mouth, or when the lips, all these moments of things coming together send out ripples into the simulation. And if we can bring more presence and intention into these moments of, oh my God, I know that my tongue touching, I know that me speaking words, I know that me, like being present to things touching in a gentle, beautiful way, that is going to send out more coherent patterns and shift the simulation. And so that's one way of interacting with it in a way that we can up level it. How does that feel?
They were just talking about that, my guides in the channeling this morning too, and exactly what you're describing, the gentleness and the grace, that all of those are just so important, and things are manifesting in such a breakneck speed right now. It's just like wild. So yeah.
And the gratitude awareness piece of it that comes with it, that kind of shifts you into it and keeps you in that presence.
Yes. And the presence is so, I mean, that's literally, if we can, the more present we are, and the more gently we walk upon the earth and touch things and be and speak, yeah, the better.
Also, I want to throw in really quickly, when you were talking about your first encounter with the guys, I think you should write a song about what it feels like to be a musician and that frustration and that wound, because even if you don't do something with it, I think you should write it.
I love that. Thank you. I think I will. Yeah.
Because part of what you're saying is it's for everyone else. And if everyone else can hear the struggle and feel like they're with it, and you'll be sharing a piece of something and allowing other people to feel that way.
Yeah. Yeah. There are pieces that I do desire to share about that. And it's a big conversation. It's not just being a musician, it's being a healer, an artist, a gift giver in a society that does not have space for that and does not honor that anymore. And that's changing there, but there's a deep wound of many, many years and many lifetimes and ancestral incarnations that is needing to be faced, right? Yeah. So I think a song will come. And interestingly, on the other side of that, I felt really inspired to play with some music the other night in a way that I hadn't in a while. And I do think that my recordings are going to start coming, maybe not fast, but I have felt sudden, like a new level of inspiration and desire around it. So that feels really good. And I think that's the importance of not skipping that step of allowing ourselves to meet our emotions and meet our feelings and express the anger and frustration or whatever it is, because there's plenty of that to go around. There's been some fuckery, as I'm saying.
When I think we're also going to live to be so much older than we realize. And so we're truthfully just in infancy.
Yeah.
You know, we want to calibrate time. You do that time space baloney. And we're at the very, very beginning, you know, so it's like
He was trying to sneak away, but that was funny.
So cute. Yeah.
Sorry, I was amused by that.
Yeah, and I keep feeling that too, which is why when, like, you know, I check with the grandmothers and I'm like, I'm gonna be a grandmother by the time I finish this music, and they're like, so what's the big whoop? You'll have more wisdom by that point, right?
Louise Hay didn't even start her publishing company till she was 60.
Oh, you know, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All in good time.
What's that?
I didn't know that. That's amazing. She
Yeah.
came to me in a dream, and she was well into, when did she die? She was in her 90s, right? Something like that. She was up there.
Yeah. It was just within the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, she came in a dream of mine. I woke up and I was like, holy shit, that was Louise Hay. Oh my God. And she literally, it was such a cool dream. I don't remember all the particulars. I did write it down, but basically she was beautiful. She was like, her makeup was done, her hair, she just looked like she was dressed to the nines, and she just popped in, and she was such a cool lady, and she just said three really important things to me. She said something like, my life is beautiful. She said, I love my life, I'm beautiful, and something else. It was just like three mantras, literally like three affirmations. And she just said them to me and she owned them. She was like, I'm beautiful, I love my life, and all these beautiful things happen to me, or something like that. And then I was like, I want to talk with you more. And she's like, well, it's time for me to go to bed. And she just like walked away. But I just had this feeling of like, oh, and she said, oh, and I love helping powerful women publish their works. Something like that. Yeah. And then it was a really cool dream. Anyway, Louise Hay, she's amazing. That's really cool to hear. So we don't have to be in such a hurry, is what she's telling us. Yeah. Okay. Well,
So I had a little check-in.
yeah.
So before we went on our break, I had this dream where I was levitating and spreading love out of my hands. I was like flying with my hands, you know, down, like on both sides. I was levitating, you know, and I was spreading love, and it was through a war zone. And then at the end of my dream, I was finally flying to the airport to take a plane back home. And my husband was there with me to fly back home with me, but he hadn't been throughout the whole dream, I don't think. Anyway, I've been struggling with my hip since I had my fall in February off of my mule. And I could not get any doctors to take me seriously about my hip. I broke my back ribs. That's what they were worried about. But they did x-rays on my hips and said, oh, no, nothing's broken. But I still had pain that could not be relieved for 6 months until I finally got into the spine and back specialist, who sent me to a physical therapist, a very specialized physical therapist, who we both looked at each other and like, I know you. We don't know each other from this lifetime, but we just totally clicked. Anyway, he said that my pelvic is smashed up really high on one side. And that's what's been causing all of my pain throughout my whole body, because the other side of my body has been trying to take over some of the duties. And every time that I was hurting throughout these past 6 months, I was re-injuring my body. I got shots in the back of my hips. But 2 days before, okay, so leading up to this though, my husband's been just a prick, just a horrible, rotten man to me. And verbally, just verbally abusing me, not just in our own home, but he started doing it out in public too. And when I try to call him on it, he'd be like, well, I'm just treating you like you're treating me. And I'm like, no, that's not right. That's not right. And I confronted him and we had an argument and he just flung things at me. He's not good at arguing. He never has been. But this was more horrible. He called me a narcissist. And I'm like, out of all the names that you could pick, a narcissist? Really? So anyway, we're going through this huge struggle and he's like, you're always telling me how it makes you feel and blah, blah, blah. I said, well, we're trained to say, when you do this, this is how it makes me feel. And I said, and Jim, you were trained that same way, but most boys don't take that to mean them. Like they don't have to do that. That's how women are supposed to talk to them. So this whole conversation that you had with these men, I've been dealing with that my whole life, I feel like. And he's been squashing my voice out of me, talking over me, telling me things didn't happen like that, that that's not true, that that's what I've been doing to him. We are going to marriage counseling tonight, but I had an epiphany. I just, so nothing got resolved in that argument and he went to bed. And then 2 days later, I'm going, I'm still angry. I'm still holding on to all of this and it's not resolved for me. And I told him, this isn't resolved for me. And, no big whoop off his skin. So I'm walking down to the barn. He was in the barn. I had to tell him something. And I was really still mad at him. And so I knew he couldn't hear me. Because there's noise between me and the barn. And I wanted to say, I am so mad at you. And it came out, I feel so sorry for you. And I mean, verbally. And I thought, well, wait a minute, where's that coming from? So I examined it because, that's what women do. We just toss something in there and stir it around a bit. Well, I thought, if he is treating me this horribly and it is affecting me this badly, what is inside of him?
Bingo.
I feel so sorry for whatever's going on inside of him. And it triggered something in me. And I realized that all of the noise that he was making, all of the crap that he was doing, I was taking it so incredibly personal. And I was back in that fight or flight mode, which the physical therapist said my back has been in the fight or flight mode for these past 6 months. Well, with Jim, I started examining because when he gets on these modes, it's like he can't control the things that are around him, like things that are happening at work and stuff, and he can't control himself. And then he tries to control me. I mean, I'm the first level. I'm the first one who gets it. And he tries to control everything around him. And I thought, what is going on? So this is all taking place in like, a 2-minute time frame. Where I'm outside and the universe is, downloading into me. And I thought, oh my God, I think his testosterone is low. He isn't feeling like the powerful man that he thinks he is. And he's lashing out. And it's so I told him, I don't even remember what I was going down to the barn for, but it did come out and I got that taken care of. But I said, I think you need to get your testosterone checked, your testosterone level checked, because you're not yourself. And you seem really imbalanced. And he stopped what he was doing. He looked at me and he said, that's the perfect way of putting it. I feel imbalanced. So he did look up some of the symptoms of that. He said, I'm having a lot of those symptoms. So I am going to go to my doctor, but I don't even know how to ask. I said, just ask to get your testosterone checked for starters. But it brought me back to that dream where it was very difficult for me in that dream. I was spreading love, but I was going through such immense pain while I was doing it. And then eventually Jim was flying back home with me after this was all done. So it brings up my horrible father, who never wanted daughters, and that's all he had was daughters. And I was the youngest, but being squashed vocally by so many people that acted like I did not know what I was talking about, even though I had all of this schooling behind me, even though I had degrees and stuff, there's just no, I couldn't get through. Not that I was saying I'm an intelligent human being, treat me as such, but I couldn't get anything through for these people to even know that I had a brain or a mind of my own. And that's what it's felt like most of my life. So I am at a point where I'm angry at the patriarchy specifically, but all these people that talk over me, these men specifically that talk over me, but it's interesting because I am connecting with men that I feel a deep soul connection with, of people that I meet now. Like there's been two lately, and this last one was the physical therapist that was just jarring wonderfully. And he's married and I'm married. There's no sexualness with this. It's just humanness connections. So for it to be happening now with men is very interesting to me. But another thing that came out of all of this, Jim would treat me horribly in public. And then he would come home and make a sexual advance at me. And I'd be like, nope, I just walk away. I am not rewarding bad behavior with my body. I'm not going to do it. Well, I took off my wedding ring because my hands swell up at night when I take my sleeping medicine, which also helps with anxiety. But I haven't been putting it back on. I don't want to. And it's not that I'm advertising that I'm single or anything like that. I don't want to give Jim any rewards for the way that he's been behaving. So when we go to the marriage counselor, and he's very open to go do this. I know that's going to come up because I'm going to bring it up because I just want him to know this is my life. I need to live my life for me, and I need to keep moving forward for me. And not wearing my wedding ring or wearing my wedding ring is for me, and how I personally feel at that time has nothing to do with being single or married, taken, or anything. But I also think through this, Jim's Kundalini is awakening. And he's fighting it. And he's been very open in moments to me humming for him and doing things for him. But I'm not quite sure how to help or just even stay out of the way while his Kundalini opens and awakens.
Robin, okay, you're saying so much good stuff. This book, Liquid Light of Sex, is all about the time of life when our Kundalini awakens and rises up, and the midlife crisis and all the stuff that goes on. Barbara Hand Clow. She talks about the astrology of it. I'm in the middle of reading it. It's really good. I think this would really help.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Everything that you just said, what I could say to it is it's like your life has been a microcosm of the macrocosm. And in many ways, all of ours have, right? And what's happening right now collectively is we're just stepping up and saying no, like how it is supposed to go. And I have this beautiful friend who's taking a training with this incredible Hawaiian shaman is what I'll call him. His name's Keone. And what he's teaching is the old teachings of Lemuria that have been passed down secretly through the generations, like the teachings of Mu. And what they teach is that we have the unihipili, which is it's the feminine energy in the pelvis. And that is supposed to guide us. That the feminine leads, not the masculine. And we've had it backwards. The masculine follows the feminine. And so what is happening right now is we're rising up and we're like, no, this is out of whack. This is not right. And stop, just stop. Right. Yeah. And so that's what's coming up with you, and you're handling it beautifully. Part of what we have to do is handle it in our own lives and our own dynamics, our own relationships, figure out how to shift this. But it's the feminine that brings the masculine to God. And so it doesn't mean the feminine's better. It just means that the feminine is meant to be in guidance, because that the feminine is the creative force of the universe. The feminine is the mystery. It's the one that births and that's loving, right? And then the structure follows that. So what you said is something about what's inside of Jim. If he's being that awful outwardly, what's going on? And we need to remember that for the patriarchy. Those who are having the worst behavior are the ones that are hurting the most inside, and they're doing it to themselves even more than they're doing it to us, right? So there was so much brilliance in there. I feel like we need to move on and sing, but what I would say is keep engaging with your voice, keep working with the feelings and the emotions, and voice things out loud, like what you said, because awakening is going to come through us speaking it out loud to ourselves. It doesn't even have to be with anybody else. You being out there in nature, getting the downloads, and then thinking you're going to say one thing, but something else comes out. That's brilliant. That's because that's where we wake up and realize what's really happening, right? And we get deeper under the surface. So thank you for sharing all that. Venus retrograde has been wild. Yes, yes.
It's over though. Did anybody get any big downloads yesterday? So supposedly it's Sunday, Monday. You should have had a signal of something that happened that allows you to that what you were supposed to readdress, you can move forward with. And I totally agree, because it's not about what's happening with them. It's about what's happening with us, and only us, and that second chakra. And that's what I was going to ask you about singing. What's the best thing to reinforce the second chakra? Because like I've had 5 abdominal surgeries, and it's all about the flow. What happens when that flow hits something that can't move? How do you move that second chakra with tone or sound? Or, I mean, I know what the notes are, and I know what, but I think it would help all of us, because it's right there.
Yeah.
That, owning our own second chakra.
Yes. So number one, I feel like it's very valuable to speak aloud, because voice is the interface. It's like a bridge between thought and physical reality, right? It's like,
and it's a frequency. Yeah.
So here's the thought, and then it has to go from our brain through the body. It's actually called prephonatory tuning. Our inner ear hears what we're about to say or speak or sing. Then it tells the brain. So it actually doesn't start in the brain. It starts in the inner ear. Then the inner ear tells the brain, this is what we're going to do. And then the brain tells the body, and then we do it. So this is like split seconds before we make a sound. So it's very complex what's happening. Also, the temples, these are energetic. There's a whole, I should send you all the article, and I can't articulate it all, but there's a whole cool thing about the temples. Jennifer?
Bring it. No, bring it. Show us the article.
Well, I need to write that to myself. Send Temple's article.
Well, it's got to be the antenna to the third eye, doesn't it?
That's exactly what it is. Send Temple's article. But what's really cool is when we speak things aloud, we often discover, we realize, and we say things that we wouldn't have expected to say or understand, right? And then we're verbalizing it. So then it's coming into physical reality. And then from there, it starts touching things, right? Like that touching thing I was talking about. So the waves go out, they ripple out, and then they touch things, and then they reorganize the physical matter from the quantum field up. So it's how we get to interface. And this whole change that we're in is a revolution of consciousness. We're waking up to who we truly are and how we shift the simulation. And every time I don't like something, my guides are like, well, change the code, rewrite the code, rewrite the code. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll rewrite the code. So how we rewrite the code is by making sound, speaking things aloud. You're driving in your car and you just start talking, right? Or you sing. That's a really fun way to do it. Marvin and I sing every song about our kitties ever known, like every song. He's a planiac on the floor, right? Like our cats have so many songs about them where we've taken popular songs and we make it about cats. It's just like, it makes our house so fun because we're always singing these silly little songs and doing plays on words, and it's always about our cats, and we're ridiculous, but it's so fun. But we can do that and it lightens the mood, right? Lifts, it brings levity and play and joy into the situation. So those are two of the things. But then as far as what you're talking about, Jennifer, I think it comes back to the presence and the intention, tuning into the places where we feel the blocks and then sending sound there. And not worrying specifically, I mean, you could, if you know the tones and you want to work with the specific tones and you give yourself the note and then you tone that, or you play that tone to yourself on your little iTempora app. You can, one thing you can do is if you know the tones and you've worked with like Ani Williams, you can play those tones to yourself, or you all can play the tones that Jennifer sent you, right, that are helping energetically and astrologically speaking. You can just have that playing in the background while you're doing your dishes and going about your day and tidying up and getting ready for the day. Play those tones to yourself. But then also going into meditation and sending those tones into those areas, just toning those areas and inviting them to open up and seeing them, experiencing like that blockage softening and opening. You were going to say something, Jennifer.
Oh, I was just thinking I was going to do an experiment. So I use tuning forks a lot. And in astrology, the body has an order of what Aries, Taurus, it goes down the body all the way down to Pisces. But everybody has their Pisces in a different area of the chart. So I was wondering, that second chakra is kind of a Libra hip issue balance thing, which is hilarious that your hip is what you're talking about. So I'm wondering if a tuning fork hitting either one of the hips or both the hips or the center of the hips in the key of F sharp, which is the Libra tone, I'm just wondering if that would work. So I encourage anybody to try it, whether it's taking your iPhone and taking the key of F or songs in the key of F. Do you ever use keysongfinder.com? Keysongfinder.com has a whole list of songs and you can put in like F sharp. And so you can sing. And I wonder if your whole body could resonate to that, get the cells going, or if you just even put your phone underneath the sacrum or something, but it's right there from the kidneys to the sacrum. And so I'll test it out too, but that's what it made me think of, like taking that tone and applying it to the right place and seeing what it does, or applying it to the whole body. Because if you can get all your cells going at the same vibrational level, maybe it'll just like drop into the right place where you need it. Just like you can with your own sound, with your own tone, like the C sharp for Taurus. Virgo's F, just stuff like that. The Pisces beat that. Yeah. If you can drop into those tones and see how they hit your body, and then see how the F sharp hits your sacrum for that balance in that second, if that's what we're looking for. So I'll try to correlate things. It's just a lot of experimentation, and I don't have all the tuning forks in the right, but yeah. But if anybody does, try it and see. Let us know.
Yeah, and you have
I will.
is like the ultimate tuning fork. We can use our voice as a tuning
Well,
fork.
that's what you say. That's the biggest thing I've taken from this is your body is our best instrument. So I'm like, we're not using it right. We're not tuning into the right stuff or giving it the right tone, or even our voices when we're talking to people, we don't understand the power that we have in that. But if you saw your voice wave going out, you'd be like, oh wait, I need to shift that and change that and tone that, tune that.
Like jumping all over the place. Yes, that you just said.
But I think it's not about what's happening to us. It's about us noticing what's happening to us and then shifting it. And that's power, man.
Yeah.
Us shifting that whole thing and it shifts them too. And that's what if that's our job? What if that's our karmic thing is we got together with this person and we're taking them with us and it's our responsibility. And if they're not coming with us, it's something we haven't given them yet. Like that seems like a stupid, heavy, awful thing until you go, but wait, if I can learn to do that.
Yeah.
Well, and also even looking at it as the script, it's just so fun to see that this is just freaking theater. And
It is.
all the people that we picked in these roles, like I just had a friend that went through a 34-year contract with her mother, where her mother is now homeless because these guys scammed her so badly out of her house, took all her money out of her checking account. And she's, it's just like wild. And I just said, all of you did a perfect job. The tarot tell me all of you guys did a perfect job of playing out your contracts. Like you're going to see each other later on and go, God, we're like perfect as an obnoxious human. It's like, it's just so funny sometimes of like, we had so many different choices and this is the one we chose to learn from. And then we get done and go, man, great job.
Right.
And that's just going to minimize it all.
So good to remember that. I mean, I constantly am reminding myself, wow, we're doing a great job playing our roles. I'll think about my dad and I'm like, go dad, like you gave us a lot of grit to work through. And I'll connect with the soul because I know that our souls are all loving, right? And I think it's
Yeah,
good to keep reminding ourselves we're playing roles. Um,
it is. It's hard to remember too when you're on the other side of it. It's one thing when you remember it, but you're like, wait, why is that getting to me so much?
yeah, and I'm not good enough that I'm not ready to play the role where I get back in touch with my family, but like I still have some boundaries going on there where I'm like, yeah, no, for this Kimberly right now, she needs like a lot of space. Right? So, but I think, oh my God, we're just talking about such amazing and important and foundational stuff that I'm so grateful we can talk about because there's a lot of people that could get in this space and be like, talking about right now. But I know that we all are, we're all out there actually doing this, right? We are shifting. That's what I mean when I say this is a shift in consciousness. We're remembering who we are and we're shifting it from the inside out. Like the Pleiadians say, if you had a business card, it would say systems buster on call for shifting systems in the free will universe. And we're experts. We're experts at what we do. So just
I could have that card. Yep.
trust your blueprint. That's one of the most helpful things. Every time I'm like, I don't even know anymore what's happening. They're just like, just remember your blueprint. Just check back in with your soul blueprint. And that feels so good. And then I find the geometry and I find the points and I can just feel it, right? And it's part of the simulation too, but it's the good part of the simulation that's like, yes, I remember who I am and what I'm doing. And we've interwoven our blueprints. Yeah.
That's what's so cool about the fates is that the fates literally are weavers. It's so neat to look at that process of weavers,
Mm-hmm.
So
We are weaving and we are kind of the fates, right? And I've seen us doing it. It was like a future life, and there was like this big, huge gathering of souls, and we were just getting off on our infiltration of this time and how we were gonna map it out and meet and support each other, and it's so.
Well, and just going back to when you helped that woman at the festival with her Kundalini, to me that was so huge. I'm not surprised that you just had this dream because that literally is, I mean, there is so much that was brought forward. I mean, that's you were carrying the flag of the voice and the effects of healing someone in the direst of circumstances, just like Robin's husband. And it's like you brought her through it. I mean, you took her out of ravaged pain on so many different levels, and you just allowed that, your intuitive part to bring that whole part of you back in. And we can't even imagine the reverberations that went out from that effort that you put forward in that festival.
And that's true of all of us.
I know. I know, because I hear all this. I know you want to do the voice stuff. I mean, back when I did my divorce with my husband, I literally took on the biggest of lawyers there possibly were. I had a lawyer in the center of the courthouse screaming at me because I was like, this is unacceptable. I will not tolerate this. I had to go into court and get my real attorney back out because he passed me off to somebody, and I took them all on. And even with all my trauma, I took on the biggest, darkest mothers out there and said, so kill me. Like, it's so funny. I haven't ever given myself kudos for all the different times when I've come up against this patriarch of the darkest, and said, so do it. So take me out. Okay, bye. I'll be done. Like, I'm not scared. Go ahead. So it's just so cool sometimes to see that, what we've made so large, and it's not. So, all right.
There's
Sorry.
an amazing song I'm going to send you called I Will Never Die. It's such a fucking awesome song. I'm going to send that to you. I'm going to share a playlist called Witchy with you all. And it's like, I will never die. It's like, you can bury my bones, but I will never die. I don't remember all, but it's like everything you just said. And that's, we have to get to the point where we're like, what are you fucking gonna do? Take me out in this life?
And they buried me all the time. They friggin' bricked me up behind a brick wall. Like, we will shut down your voice. You are not meant to be here. It's like, I'm still here. Look at this. I am friggin' still here. And guess what? I am coming back with my voice at 70 years old. So it's like,
Reach, mama.
There's a song called something like I'm tired of living in a man's world. That's very empowering for women too. It's on a goddess playlist on YouTube.
I'm tired of living in a man's world. Yeah.
Isn't your witchy one on Spotify, Kimberly? Isn't that the one that you have on your list?
I don't know if I've shared that one. I've shared sensuality, I think, and I don't remember which one. Women's wisdom, I think, are the two playlists. But you can probably find my witchy playlist if you followed me on Spotify or for friends, however that works. Kitty, here's a kitty.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I'll share that after with all of you. I have a whole list of things that I will add to the resources page.
Oh, Women's Wisdom is that one. Yeah, it's not witchy.
Yeah, but I have just a few songs that I've thrown onto my witchy playlist that I'm going to start building out. So, okay, singing. Speaking of using our voices. So let's take a quick break because we probably have to empty bladders, and then we'll come back and we'll make sound. Okay. Not that we haven't been making sound.
Hi, Sasha. Hi, Pumpkin.
I did hear a speaker, who I'm actually going to have do, she's going to be on a podcast. And she spoke of that the men are bringing in the divine feminine and the women are bringing in the divine masculine. It's opposite of what,
That makes sense.
but it makes so much sense because in getting our voices and bringing in our sovereignty and literally following through with our higher aspects of ourselves, we are stepping more into the structure, divine masculine mastery stuff, whereas the men are bringing through,
We'll
you
have
know,
to heal
their womb medicine and their softness and their grace.
Yeah, that's so true. It's going like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's interesting to look at it that way. It's like, wow.
And it's like as we learn how to speak up appropriately for ourselves, it helps them remember so that they can get in touch with that part of themselves that needs to heal. And yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to see. I've been working with they've been bringing in falcon medicine and ostriches. John and I went to an ostrich farm. It's a trip. It's the biggest trip. They said their brains are smaller than their eyeballs.
Isn't that
Like
funny?
they came here to do something like just bring the energy here, and they're just like, get me the heyday off this planet. We hate you guys. All they do is peck at you. I mean, they bite you. That's all.
I
These
mean,
people have to go in the middle of the night. They have like 140. They came from LA, bought land, and ended up in this, and they're also going to do gators. So they sell the ostrich meat as well. Oh my God, they're hysterical to watch, but they are bringing through some kind of huge energy right now, but they don't want to be doing it. It's so funny.
Wow. Well, thank you for your service, ostriches.
It's
It's amazing all the animals and how they just bring all the different archetypes and energies and gifts and
and the birds are getting pretty big right now with the work they're doing. Yeah.
bird tribe in the house. Yeah.
Very
So,
cool.
we're gonna just quickly warm up our voices. I do have something to say. Another thing to say. So, I want to say this because I think this can help you as you move forward, because I keep thinking we need to bring this back around to how, this is a sound healing certification. I want you to feel equipped to be able to do sound healing. And so I've realized that I do have a unique methodology, and I've boiled it down into a beautiful little acronym. So this is TLC. We're doing TLC voice work, okay? Tender loving care. However, couple little additions to that. So I am changing the tender to toning, loving, and care for our voices. So step one is that we're toning, and that means multiple things. Like we've talked about, you can tone, like using actual toning. Toning is medicinal. It also exercises our vagus nerve. So step one is really about the nervous system, bringing tenderness through toning the nervous system so that the body can start to regulate back into the polyvagal state of rest, digest, and heal, feeling regulated, so that our bodies can release the armoring, so that we can speak our truth in a grounded, loving, wholesome way, and that we can make sounds that help to shift the collective, right? So that's step one. Step two is loving. And what I mean by that is beginning to bring loving awareness to our inner stories, the old story, and then writing the new story, right? And doing that with love and awareness, and allowing the inner voice to guide the outer voice. That wholesome, beautiful, wise inner voice is helping us move in this loving direction. And then step three is care or communion. communing with our voices through the breath, movement, and sounding practices that allow us to have this awakening through sound and voice. And I love it. What do you think of my TLC approach? It makes sense, right?
That's great.
Yay. Okay. So that's something for you to just keep in mind moving forward when you're working with people. That's what we're doing here. You want to help them unarmor their nervous system through whatever practices you want to use. You want to help them love themselves and their inner voice and their actual voice. Our voices have been so shut down and people don't even like the sound of their own voice. So helping them become present to, what if you enjoyed the sound of your voice? What if you could use your voice to help regulate your nervous system? If that was calming for you, and then it ripples out to be calming for others, right? And then communing, like helping people learn how to experience their own voice in their bodies, right? Or receive your voice coming to them in a healing way, right? With overtones and toning and sounding and singing. Okay. I don't know that there's any other sound healing like that out here. I feel like this isn't, a lot of sound healings are focusing so much on external instruments, but our voice, we're the technology. We are the technology. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna sing a song. I wanted to give you some songs to sing, and we haven't done a ton of that. So there's a sweet little one that I wrote called, I don't even know, womb song, I guess. I don't even know what it's called. But the lyrics are, oh shoot, I should probably pop this in the chat. Do I have it? Blessed sun, blessed moon, blessed earth, blessed womb. Okay, and that's it. And we just repeat that over and over again as a little mantra. Let me see if I have it written down or if I need to type it. Womb song, I do have it. Okay, so let me just pop it in the chat really quickly for you. With all this talk that we've had about feminine today, let's do this song. Womb song.
I just wanted to share really quickly that at our retreat, one of the closing events we had was a sound bath, and the guy who did it had a didgeridoo that he was playing, but there was a moment towards the end, this sort of goes back to Kimberly saying, there's so many instruments out there, but it comes back to our voice, and he was actually using his voice to sound like the didgeridoo, and it just blew all of our minds. It was just phenomenal. We were like, wow, how did you do that? It was really impressive.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. And sing through the didgeridoo. Like the didgeridoo is very much a voice instrument. That's so cool.
Yeah.
See, it's our voices. Goes back to the voice. And I think that's why, like with the Kundalini thing I did with that woman, I mean, I'm still even surprised, like, holy moly, that it's so powerful. We discount it, not to discount it. Ooh, that was exciting. Okay, so I forgot I've written other lyrics to this song and I found them. So there are 3 verses: blessed sun, blessed moon, blessed earth, blessed womb, sing with the sun, and then dance with the sun, earth, and womb. Okay, so we're gonna sing it a few times and we're not even gonna warm up. So yeah, it is what it is. Actually, I can't not warm us up. So let's just take a few moments to call our energy back in, just briefly send our roots down, check in with our whole energy system, our pillar of light, maybe the Merkaba, the dodecahedron, some deep breaths. And then we're just gonna do a brief round of tapping. So tapping on the side of the hand and breathing. Tapping on the other hand, deep inhales and exhales. Inner eyebrow. Long, deep inhales in through the nose, out through the mouth. Let the sound of the inhale be a sound healing, the sound of the breath. Tapping on the outer eye point. Really elongating that exhale. And just telling the body, I'm safe. I'm supported. I've got this. Tapping under the eye. Really allowing yourself to settle into your body. This would be a great way to help people before you would do a sounding practice with them, to really regulate that nervous system. Tapping under the nose. And again, that breath is sound, it is healing, it is entraining. Tapping on the chin. Collarbone. I like to stay on the collarbone, it feels really grounding. Maybe one more deep inhale and exhale here. I am safe. It's different this time. Tapping on the underneath the arms. And you can tell yourself that. It's a great thing to tell yourself, I am safe, I am safe. I am here now in my body. I've got this. Tapping on the top of the head. I love the head too, so we'll spend a couple more times here. The head has the governing meridian, which is a really important meridian that runs right through there, so it feels really, really good to work with it. Good. And then just pressing the hand on the head, bringing the opposite hand to the back of the neck, the medulla oblongata area. I am safe. I am safe. And then keeping the hand on the back of the head and bringing the hand from the top of the head to the forehead. I am safe. You can say that out loud. Hear your own voice say it. I am safe. I create my safety. I create my safety. And release. Now this is a nicer place to sing from. We'll do a couple sirens just to wake the voice up. Mm. 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 Ah. 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 All right. I've never done this with drum, but we'll see if this works. I can play it on harp, but I don't know how right now. So we'll do it with some drum. Blessed sun, blessed moon, blessed earth, blessed womb. Ah, So I'll repeat that, and it's just always the same melody. Is this okay volume-wise? Is the drum?
I can't hear the drum.
Oh, I'm playing it really softly, so I'll bring it up a little bit. And it doesn't really matter. Main thing is let's get the melody. Blessed sun, blessed moon, blessed earth, blessed womb. Sing with the sun, sing with the moon, sing with the earth, sing within your womb. You can flow with it, you can figure eight, you can circle. Dance with the sun, dance with the moon, dance with the earth, dance within your womb. I saw Allison yawning. Yawning is awesome. When we move energy, we often yawn, so don't even worry about it. I yawn all the time when I sing and do energy work. All right, and I also didn't type in the right words, but you got it. All right, so now we're gonna really go in. Now that we've learned it, we're just gonna turn this into a little meditation. Here we go, I'm gonna stop talking. Blessed sun, blessed moon, blessed earth, blessed womb. the sun, sing with the moon, sing with the earth, sing within your womb. Dance with the sun, dance with the moon, dance with the earth, dance within your womb. Blessed sun, blessed moon, blessed earth, blessed womb. Sing with the sun, sing with the moon, sing with the earth, sing within your womb. Dance with the sun, dance with the moon, dance with the earth, dance within your womb. Finding your way to center and stillness. Just taking a moment to let that integrate, to feel what you feel. Good. Really enjoying the silence and the stillness. We're going to finish up today with a round of toning. I'm going to tone for just a couple minutes. A hum. Actually, no, we're going to do ah, heart chakra. So you can send these tones anywhere that feels good to you and your body. Inhaling, and you can even have hand on heart, hand on belly if that feels good. So here we go. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling to ah. Again, embracing the stillness and the silence. Beautiful. So I'm going to leave us with that today. I have to jump off a couple minutes early to get to my next call. Thank you, sisters. I will see you next week for more adventures in time, space, reality, dimensional travels. Mwah. Much love to all of you. I invite you, if you have time right now and you can stay in this space and just do some more toning or singing, I would invite you to do that for a little bit longer for yourselves. Okay? Mwah. See you next week.